Hello guys, it's Silas Tops here, your PHP lecturer. Welcome to our PHP lecture 12. In this lecture guys, I'm just want to quickly show you how to write a nested for loop code into a nested while loop code. I'm going to demonstrate using our code, our project that we wrote in our PHP lecture 11 guys. If you never get an opportunity to listen our lecture 11, I recommend you can revisit our lecture 11 and watch how we applied our nested for loop. And in this lecture guys, I'm just gonna go and open the same code that we wrote in our lecture 11. And you know that in our lecture 11 we were actually writing a code using a nested for loop that will display or that will actually come up with this right angled triangle of asterisk. So we did this using a nested for loop. So now I just want to actually demonstrate to show you guys any code that you are writing using a nested for loop, you're still going to be able to even to write the same code using a nested while loop. So I'm actually going to demonstrate that guys, so that you will be able to do those applications whenever you're writing your projects. You choose which syntax or which programming functions are you comfortable to use. If you are comfortable to nested while loop, you can still be able to do that. If you are comfortable to use nested for loop, as long as you don't have any confinements, the options will be actually on your solve to see whatever that you fit for a particular project that we'll be developing. So for now guys, let me just go on opening our last project that we wrote in our lecture 12. So this is our last project that we wrote guys. I demonstrated the nested for loop here, and I said the nested for loop simply means we've got a more than one for loop, and we've got a for loop inside another for loop. That's why we call it nested for loop. So this for loop is representing my number of rows, and this one, the inside, is representing my columns. So now I'm actually move on to this heading, which is nested while loop. Nested while loop, I'm just want to actually show you guys how we convert this code written in nested for loop into a nested while loop. So I think if you listen to our last lecture, which is our lecture 9 and 8, I demonstrated also how to write a for loop and change the code that is written in for loop into a while loop. And in this lecture, I'm demonstrating the code that is written in using a nested for loop, and how to rewrite the same code using a nested while. So without wasting time, the first thing first, I need to have an opening tag for my PHP, because what I'm writing here is a PHP code. So my opening tag for PHP is simply a less than symbol question mark, then PHP, then my closing tag is question mark, and this one. So I've got my opening tag and closing tag for on my header for today, which is nested while loop. So if you still remember what I demonstrated here, I've got an outer for loop. My outer for loop is this one, which is starting from here, ending up here. And when I'm changing this for loop into a while loop, my initial or starting position must be actually outside of my for loop. So this, which is your starting point in your for loop, must be outside of your while loop. So if I copy here, I simply put here, paste it here. So it's outside. My starting position must be outside. Then after my starting point, it's where I have to write a while. Then after a while, I have to put a condition here inside this. So the condition here in my for loop, which is here in between here, it will be a condition inside the brackets for my while loop. So I paste it here. It will be the condition inside this one. So as long as this condition is true, anything that is inside my bracket for while loop will keep on executed. So So once I write this condition, I have to put my open bracket for my while loop, which is the open QR bracket and a closing QR bracket. So this is, so what is happening? This is your starting my starting point, your starting row, which is row number 1, which is outside. So initially you are at row number 1. So here the condition you are comparing is 1 less than or equal to 10. If it's yes, then you are allowed to go inside this bracket and execute anything, all the code that is inside here. Then you come here back. Then when you come back here, you compare the condition. So what do you want to do inside? You have to take this increment on your for loop. It is going to be inside your while loop bracket. It's going to be at the end inside here. It's going to be inside of your while loop here. So this is how you take all these 3 expression of your for loop and rewrite them in a while loop. The first one here, you would write it outside. Then the middle, it's a condition. Then the increment, then it will be inside this bracket for while loop. So what I wrote here is my outside for loop with this bracket and this bracket. So once I'm done, I need to come here and write my inside for loop. On my inside for loop, I've got the starting value, which is my column 1. So I simply copy this. So I have to come here, then I'll put it inside, because now I am inside my outer loop. This is the inside while loop, because it's a replacement of this inside for loop. So the first thing, I'll take this one, I'll write it outside, which is the value that I'm posting here. Once I paste this outside, then I have to write while then I'll put the condition inside here. Which condition am I going to take here is this value, which is in between here. Let me copy it. So I put it here inside my bracket for my while loop as a condition. Let me paste it here. So once I paste it here, I have to open this while loop. Have got its own bracket, which is opening and closing what? QR bracket. So as long as this condition is true, everything inside these 2 must keep on executed. So I've got this starting position, I put it outside. My condition is here, but the increment, I haven't took my increment. My increment must be inside those brackets for a while loop. So let me copy my increment here. Copy. My increment must be inside these brackets for my while loop. So I simply paste my increment here. Okay, I simply paste my increment here. So don't be confused. This increment is the increment for this while loop, and this increment here is the increment for the inside while loop. Don't forget to put semicolon at the end of each and every statement. So now what you are left with is the code. What is the code inside this for loop? Is this code only. So I simply take this code. Let me copy it. Then I'll put it inside here. Make sure that you put it above this increment must be at the end of all the code that is inside this while loop. So you have to put the code above that increment. So let me just paste it here. So this is the code that I have inside this while loop. Then after this code, I have got this outside here. So this code here, it's outside my inner while loop, but it's inside my outer while loop. So it's somewhere here. So I simply put it here as a bracket. So this is how you change this for loop. So this for loop, inner for loop, is represented with this while loop, which is the starting position, condition, and increment here. Then the outer for loop is represented by this starting position, condition, and then increment, and is starting here and ending here, and this one starting here and ending here. So this is how you change all your for loop into while. So if I can save this code, guys, you're going to see that it's going to, let him just save, click save as. Then let him just go to C drive here. Then look for XAMPP folder. Then let me go to my htdocs. Htdocs, let me create the new folder here. Let me just name this folder prog. This one is project 12, okay? Prog 12. Prog 12. Okay, it's already saved here. Let me just click Prog 12, then open Prog 12. Then let me save inside Prog 12. Once I save, it's saved. Once it's saved, let me come here, guys. Here. Let me come here and look for my XAMPP control panel. Let me click my XAMPP control panel. Let me wait for my XAMPP control panel to appear. Okay, then I'll make sure that I'll start my Apache and also start my SQL. Once these two are started, then I can minimize and go to my browser. In my browser here, I'll simply type localhost / the name of my project, which is prog 12. Then press enter. Once I press enter, I'll see my project here, guys. I'll simply click it. You see my code is here. You see my code is displayed exactly as it is. Let me make it small a little bit. All right. It's too much. All right. All right. You see, this is a nested for loop, and this is my nested while loop. Everything that I managed to do with my nested for loop, I also done the same thing with my nested while loop. So any code that you can write using a nested while for loop, you can be able to write the same code using a nested while loop. So this is how you apply nested while loop. Or if you are given any question that you have to change the code from a nested while loop into a nested for loop, you should be able to do that. Or changing even a code that is written in a while loop to a nested for loop, we should be able to do that. So this is the same. You see, they've got the same output, guys. I think, guys, you see how we demonstrated all these changes. From now onwards, I think you should be able to write any code using a nested while loop or nested for loop, guys. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Have a nice day. Keep safe, keep well, guys. Keep practicing PHP. I hope to see you in our next lecture.